Hello everybody, welcome to Accounting Face YouTube channel. In today's video, you will learn how to enter data into worksheet cells. Specifically, you will learn how to enter test data, values or numbers, formulas and mathematical operations in Microsoft Excel. Microsoft Excel worksheet cells can contain text, number values, formulas, mathematical operations, and even functions. Now, each of these types of data has an important role to play. So let's take a look at each of them into details. Now, test data. When we talk of test data, these are any combination of characters that you can type on the keyboard, including symbols, numbers, letters, and spaces. Now, test data does not require calculations. So when you talk of names or titles or labels, these does not require calculations in Microsoft Excel. Now, to enter test data in a worksheet cell, obviously the first thing you will have to do is to select a cell, or to select the cell by clicking on it. So when we move in, I have a worksheet opened on my screen here. So I have to select. If I want to type in this cell, I have to first of all select this cell. Now the next thing is to just type in the text I want to type in. So I can have something like mango, okay, or pawpaw here, apple here. That is it. So selecting each box before typing in the data, that's test data. Now as I was typing, or as you type test data, it appears both in the formula bar and the selected cell. So where I type in my first cell here, I type mango, I can see this same text displayed in my formula bar, all right, as well as in the selected cell. Okay. Now, the most important feature of test data in Microsoft Excel is its alignment. All right, in Excel, test entries or test data are aligned on the left by default. So when we check this, this is aligned by default, aligned to the left of our cells. It's not to the right, but to the left of our cells. So any test data that I put in is going to be aligned to the left of the cells. I can add as many test data as I want to still be shown to the left of the cell. Now let's take notice that whenever text is longer than the cell containing it, the text visually spills over into the adjacent cells, just like I have here strawberries. All right, so when I type strawberries, it is longer than the cell here, so it spills over into the adjacent cell, which is the bit B4. So it spills over into this cell here. Now this happens only if the adjacent cell is empty. On the contrary, if the adjacent cell already contains data, then the long text appears to be cut off at the boundary between the two cells. So if in cell C, let me say cell D7, I have orange here, and then in cell C7 I decided to type strawberries. Now just after hitting the enter key, the word strawberry has now been cut off. All right, so this is it. The text appears to be cut off between the boundary, okay, cut off at the boundary between the two cells. So cell C7 and D7, the text strawberries have been cut off here. Okay, note that in each of these cases, the text is completely contained in that particular cell. So here the text is still in cell C7, it's not in cell D7. So the word strawberry is in cell C7. So in each case, the word strawberry is in the cells, in the selected cell. So this is when you are looking at the cell data or cell data in Microsoft Excel. First of all, they are always aligned by default to the left, and also when the text is longer than the selected cell, it spills over to the next or the next adjacent cell. Now this only happens if the adjacent cell is empty, but otherwise, if the adjacent cell is not empty, then the text appear to cut off. Okay, it cut off at the boundary between the two cells. The next item we're going to look at is numbers. Numbers are common input in spreadsheets. Values are numbers that represent a quantity, date, time, prices, and so on and so forth. So let's quickly take a look at these few numbers. In cell this D1, I'm going to type as 154. Just some random numbers. Even decimals are also known as the numbers here. All right, now values can also be times and dates. All right, in Microsoft Excel, date and then time are all recognized as values. So if I enter a date like 12th of December 2019 here, this is recognized as a number in Microsoft Excel. Equally, if I type a time here, 14:33, and then the seconds here, this is also recognized as a number. All right, so in other words, Excel can determine automatically whether you are entering text or a number based on what you are typing. If you are typing in a test data, Excel will automatically recognize that this is a test data. Okay, if you are typing a number value, Excel will also automatically detect that you are typing a number value. Now take note that the number typed in here in each of the cells appear in the formula bar, just like the test data. Okay, also take note that the numbers are aligned to the right. So this is one of the major difference. The test data is aligned to the left by default, whilst the number data is arranged or is aligned to the right by default. All right, now surprisingly, common data that appear to be numbers sometimes are not. Okay, for example, if I'm to type here in my F1, if I'm to type something like 28 ways to type, Excel would recognize the data as text and hence align it to the left. All right, this data is not recognized as number but rather as text, and it's aligned to the left in Microsoft Excel. Okay, additionally, Excel considers social security numbers and telephone numbers as text, not as numbers. So if I want to type my telephone number, and assuming I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, Excel will recognize this as a text input and not number. It doesn't make this calculation here as 1 2 3 minus 45 minus 6 7 8 9. No, Excel sees this as a test data. So the telephone numbers, social security numbers are all recognized as test data in Microsoft Excel. All right, now the key difference between text and values is that cells containing text data cannot be used in any meaningful way in mathematical calculations. So this makes absolute sense, because you can't add two telephone numbers together. So cells containing telephone numbers, Excel recognize that this is automatically recognize this as a text data. Therefore, you can't add those two cells together. So that is in Microsoft Excel. Now the next one we're going to look at is cell address and cell referencing. Now I want to re-emphasize the concept of cell references. That's the way we reference cell in Excel. Now I made mention of cell D1, cell F1, cell A1. All these are how we address cells in Microsoft Excel. These are names tagged to each of the cells we have in Microsoft Excel. So in Excel, we use the row column configuration to name the cells. So a worksheet in Microsoft Excel is broken into columns A, B, C, D, E, F continuously, and then the rows, which are 1 2 3 4 5 up to the last number we have in Microsoft Excel. Now for this cell referencing, I'm going to switch over to worksheet 2, where I have some data already typed into the cells. Now here we can look at it. Looking at this data here, we want to reference the cell. We want to reference the cell where the items, the word item is written. All we need to do is to check in the column first. Okay, so it's in column B. Yeah, this is the column B. and then in under which row is it? It's under row 4. All right, so when we reference it here, we reference B4, that is column B, row number 4. So that is the name. That's how we are able to get the name, or the name or the address of this particular cell. Now this name is also shown in the name box here at the top here. Okay, we can equally give it a unique name, but currently the default name of this cell here is column B, row number 4, that is B4. Now if you want to also find out the price of pen, so right from this, what's the price of pen here? The price of pen is 5 cedis here. Okay, I'm using Ghana cedis here. That is my currency in Ghana here, so I'm using 5 cedis. So the price of pen is 5 cedis here, and that price is also shown, the name of that cell is shown in the name box, that is C6. Okay, and then this also shows that this is the name box also shows the most active cell. So if I click on any of the cells, the cell name is referenced in the name box, showing me that this is the active cell at the moment. Now let's move on to formulas. That's basic formula in Microsoft Excel. Without formulas, Excel would be little more than a word processing program, incapable of producing what-if analysis and other operations, from the simplest to the most advanced calculations. In Microsoft Excel, you need to start every formula with an equal sign. So I'm going to put my total here. Right now, to put my total here, all I need to do first is put my equal sign. As we said, this is always there. For the most in the formula, every formula in Microsoft Excel starts with an equal to sign. So I can go 25 plus 5 plus 3 plus 5 plus 55, adding up all my items here for me to be able to get the total item in Microsoft Excel. So when I hit enter, I have my total figure here, or my total figure here, which is 93 cedis. Right now, this gives us the right answer though, but this doesn't make Microsoft Excel very flexible for us to use. Okay, Microsoft Excel should be very flexible. It goes beyond this. Okay, it goes beyond this. So for us to really use the power of Microsoft Excel is for us to be able to use the cell referencing. That is what we just talked about a moment ago. All right, so we need to be able to use we need to be able to use the cell references. That's one of the ways we can really make good use of Microsoft Excel. Now, assuming we are able to change using this particular method, assuming we change this price here to 7 cedis, nothing happens, meaning we have to come and recalculate our total figure here, and this makes using our Excel very tedious. So I'll clear my total figure here, and then this time I'm going to use cell referencing. So first of all, I'll start with my equal to sign and then reference. In which cell is my exercise book amount? My exercise book amount is located in cell C5. So column C, row number 5. So I click on that. Then I bring the plus operator or the addition operator, and then select the second amount here, which is in cell C6. Then I bring my addition operator here, and then so I continue this way until I get all my cell references. So yeah, so at this moment we could see that not the figures are not written outright, but what we see is the cell names that are written. So if I press enter, I have my total figure here. Now assuming I go back here, this was 5 cedis earlier, and I change it to 5 cedis and press enter, my total figure also reverts back. Okay, it reduces by 2. I want to look at another type of referencing in Microsoft Excel. Okay, now we have something else. We have relative referencing and then absolute referencing. Okay, apart from the name addresses that we talk of, we have the relative referencing and then the absolute referencing. Now these two are kind of difficult to explain, so I'm going to use the example here, the data here, to explain relative referencing and then absolute referencing. Okay, I'm going to put here percentage. Okay, I'm trying to find the percentage of the amount, the percentage that we have spent on exercise book. Okay, the percentage of this whole figure, or the percentage of this 93 that is spent on exercise book. Okay, that's what I'm going to find out. Before we start anything, we know very well that in typing out our formula, we start with an equal to sign. So I'll put my equal to sign here. Now, ideally, what we in writing this with a pen and a paper, what we would have to do is to take our figure here, all right, and divide that by our total figure, and this should be able to give us the percentage that is spent, on a exercise book. When I hit enter, this gives me 0.27. Now let me quickly convert this to percentage here by clicking on the percentage command here. That gives me 27% of this total is spent on exercise book. All right, now if for me not to continue retyping each of this formula, I can quickly copy it downwards. Okay, now there's something wrong here. This is showing me div divided by 0 with an exclamation sign. Okay, now Excel is simply telling me that it cannot divide by, a number cannot be divided by 0, and obviously this is true. You can't divide a number mathematically, you can't divide a number by 0. So this is what Excel is showing me. This is an error in Microsoft Excel. Now what's happened here is that Microsoft Excel is doing a relative referencing here. Now when I copy this formula from here to here, Excel did a relative reference by matching it with this here. So when I double click here, let's see what happens here. Excel did a relative referencing by changing from C5 to C6. That's very correct. All right, that is very correct. And also using the relative referencing method, also it moved down, also one step down, and took C11, but there's nothing in C11. All right, so when we move down, the same thing applies here. Excel came down, took the formula that I copied from here and changed it to C7, that's relative reference, and then moved down also twice, 2 times down, and then took C12. All right, now there's nothing in C12, that's why we are having 0 divided by 0. So this number 3 here, which is C7, divided by C12, which is 0, and that's why Excel is giving us an error. So in this sense, we have to use the absolute referencing. Okay, I'm going to clear this data here, this error here, and then I'm going to edit this formula that I entered here. Now for us to work with relative absolute referencing, what all that we tell Excel is that we want to maintain this. No matter how we copied our formula, we want to still maintain this particular cell. We want to maintain the reference to this particular cell, that is C10. Do not move downwards or upwards, just maintain C10. all right, so all that we're going to do, we want to maintain C10. So all that we're going to do is that you add a $sign here before the column, the name of the column, that is C, and then we also add a $sign here before the name of the row here. All right, and we'll hit enter. Okay, now let's try again, copying it downwards here, and then it works out very fine. So at this moment, Excel, all that Excel did is to use relative referencing for the top, that is each of them. So when I double click on this is here relative referencing, but down here the division side, that's the denominator here, is shown as absolute referencing. Okay, so these are relative reference and absolute reference combined here to give us the percentage result here. So this is what we mean by the relative referencing and absolute referencing in Microsoft Excel. Thank you very much for watching this, for joining me in this particular video. New to the channel, consider subscribing and then hit the bell notification icon down there to be notified anytime I make a new upload. Also, like this video if you find it very educative, and then share to your friends. Please leave a comment down there for me to get a feedback whether what I'm doing is making an impact or not. See you in the next video.